Oh man, the queue times are the worst they have ever been. Nobody wants to play tank at all. People would rather play support than tank. You know, the wah 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 heal me roll? Yeah, people would rather play that than tank. Maybe we should change up tanks, you know, rework them a little bit. How can we make the tank role feel impactful while not making them rely on their teammates so much, and in turn reducing most of the game's visual clutter, crowd control abilities, sustain abilities, and shield abilities? Okay, so hear me out. I genuinely believe that 5v5 will save Overwatch in the long run. And I'm not even paid by Blizzard to say that, but then again, nobody is. I and many other content creators have voiced their concerns on 5v5 in the past, saying that it is a useless change that could potentially ruin the game even more. But now that I've played both Overwatch 2 betas and revisited Overwatch 1, I can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. Overwatch's destiny has always been 5v5. Let me explain again. I fucking hate 6v6 now, and in my opinion, 5v5 is much better in most ways. And I've been playing Overwatch for 6 years straight, and I am also a very popular YouTuber. Let's first talk about the immediate effects of 5v5. Obviously, removing 2 players from a match means that there is less stuff going on, both visually and ability-wise. There is also less damage happening, and one would assume that DPS heroes contribute most of the damage in a team fight, and although that is debatable, Blizzard has stated before that statistically, tank heroes actually do more damage than they negate most of the time. And speaking of which, going back to Overwatch 1 from the Overwatch 2 beta, I have seen motherfuckers get ultimates after winning just one team fight, which is ridiculous. There should be no world where that is consistently happening. But basically what this trickles down to is that 5v5 makes the game a lot more clear and straightforward about what is going on in an average match. One could say that this actually worsens the gameplay because it makes the game more simple and not as complex, but to that I say, shut the fuck up. With 6 players on each team, every single game that you play, you have to be aware of at least 12 different abilities on the enemy team, not to mention your team's 12 abilities, and oh yeah, that's not even counting ultimates, so it's no wonder that even top 500 players in Overwatch 1 have to consistently ask themselves, what the fuck is going on? And this is also a huge barrier to entry for new players, because they cannot track all of these abilities going on, which is required to simply play the game. And I want to add that 5v5 does not make the game too empty or too open. It did kind of feel that way in the first beta, but in the second beta, games were much more fun to play and more stuff was going on. And especially with the addition of the Junker Queen, the newest Brawl tank, who is super fun and is definitely going to be the most popular tank on release, like for sure. Another immediate but welcomed addition to 5v5 is that you can no longer stack shitty tank picks, mainly double shield and double, well, no shield. Something that literally nobody wants to play with or against. Now, I want you to think of all of the tank heroes that are not fun to play against in Overwatch 1. Oh wait, I already know what most of your answers are going to be. It's Orisa, Sigma, Ball, and Roadhog. And it looks like that is literally half of the fucking tank roster. But what about teamwork and tank synergies? Do you seriously think that Rein Zarya or Winston D.Va is still the face of Overwatch? Because it's time to take your schizo medication and come back to reality where Double Shield has literally been meta for as long as Sigma has been out. And speaking of which, have you ever realized that almost all Overwatch metas have at least been named after their tank picks, and that the tank characters are usually the first heroes to come to mind when you think of the comp? Double Shield, Double Bubble, Rush, Dive. That would make you think that the tank role is very impactful, which it can be, but then why the fuck is nobody playing it? Maybe because most of the player base that even still exists are dissatisfied with the role. Almost as if they should rework the role somehow. Man, if only. But seriously, ask yourself this. Why the fuck would I want to rely on my other tank for synergistic reasons when I can just be a Giga Chad solo tank that can actually reach its max potential stats-wise? Would you rather be Overwatch 1 Orisa, whose job is to literally stand behind a shield, shoot, and repeat? Or do you want to be the Overwatch 2 Orisa, whose job is to get up close and be proactive to get kills? This opens up the tank role to more than just tank players. It makes everybody want to play the tank. And no, there is not too much pressure on the solo tank because now they're hella buffed and have a lot of impactful and aggressive plays to make. But I've also heard people say that tanks are overpowered in Overwatch 2 because they can get out of situations that you wouldn't be able to in Overwatch 1, and I couldn't disagree more. Not only are you still able to feed your brains out on tank by doing stupid shit, looking at you Doomfist players, but also you are the tank. So I would think with a position like that, it would be pretty understandable for you to tank a lot of damage and not just blow up after one mistake like in Overwatch 1. Now my last point about 5v5 being better is a bit more of a complicated reason, so I'm not trying to go into a whole lot of depth and waste your time just to get a point across about a fucking video game, but basically, tank heroes affect the entire flow of Overwatch matches by themselves. In Overwatch 1, it feels like the tank role doesn't synergize with the rest of the roles equally, but the other roles have to synergize with the tanks to put together a correct team comp. Your tank picks are usually the strengths and base of how your team comp works, but also not many tanks pair together particularly well to make as many good comps. And in Overwatch 1, tank heroes can be so good that they directly impact another hero's performance. For example, double shield. Would Zenyatta ever be as good as he is now without double shield? No, because he naturally synergizes with the comp so much that his weakness of being rushed or dove completely goes away. So now you have a comp that gets rid of his only weakness, making him way better than he needs to be. And this is amplified even more when you add heroes like Brig and Bap who can also protect him, but they're not as good as they are now in 5v5 because there's no double shield. So all of those defensive and sustain abilities don't stack as well, aka 5v5 inherently nerfs all of these dumbass abilities that everybody complains about. Another character affected by this is actually Echo, a hero that could be like a flying Genji, you know, swoop into the enemy backline, get some beam kills to finish him off, but why would you do that and risk your life when you could just be sitting in the back of the map with your team and poke the enemies from the fucking skybox and farm your ultimate? Because that's what the game has devolved to, nerfing fun playstyles. In 5v5, poke damage is not nearly as good because there's more movement, there's more map cover, and less choke points. So you have to actually play smart and engage more fights to get value on Echo instead of just spamming from across the map all game. And these meta picks have affected the whole game by making it much slower and not as proactive, because all you really need to do is just poke at the enemy and wait for them to make a mistake. Basically, if they go at you, it's hard to get through all your ranged damage that stacks, and you have sustain abilities to stack when they do get close. There is just too much shit going on in the game, and 5v5 is a roll of toilet paper. Frito really said it best when he explained that Overwatch 1 is not a game about actions per minute, but about reactions per minute. And clearly, nobody wants to play a game like that, and people will still have the audacity to say 5v5 makes the game too much of just a shooter. But at least you're shooting at actual players. And I would say that Overwatch 2 still provides the same amount of MOBA abilities and mechanics into the game while still making it feel like a team-based shooter. Like I've said before, this is not COD, this is not Valorant, or Apex. The game is still very much Overwatch, and in my opinion, a better version of it. And I know it seems like I only hate the double shield aspect of 6v6, which it is pretty bad, but the mode is just a clusterfuck in general, because of the way that the game has evolved. But I guess we'll never objectively know if 5v5 is actually better for the game long term, for, you know, a long term. But for now, players want to see changes, so that's what they're getting with Overwatch 2. And feel free to comment your thoughts, but just know, you're not changing my mind about this, so don't say anything stupid. Actually, no, that would help the algorithm. Actually, no, type whatever the fuck you want. Obviously, I am very excited for the game's release in October, and I'm actually trying to hit 1,000 subs before then. So, if you wanna, subscribe, the button's right there. And if you like this video, then like it, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.